Sie hören Sport und Musik.
It's John Brooks for the USA! Das Spiel ist aus! Deutschland ist Weltmeister!
In a world where fans fight over whether to call it football, or soccer, two German men defy the odds and call it Fußball. Bringing you inside the German-American football experience. And now, here are your hosts, the Schnitzel Boys.
Hallo, hallo, hallo.
Hallo. Oh, hallo.
Moin.
It's like I just saw you.
I just saw you. Moin, moin. Auch, hallo, wie geht's?
Wie ist it?
Wie ist it? Is that
Wie
from
ist
the
it?
war? Wie
That's
ist
what
it?
they say. Yeah, that's how they. Otto
Sehr
Rehhagel,
groß.
famous German coach Otto Rehhagel, was once on a talk show with Elke Heidenreich, also Ruhrgebiets legend, and
The soccer
and
player, Elke Heidenreich?
no, she's just a journalist, moderator, and she said, "Wie is it?"
Ah.
And Otto Rehhagel said, "Oh, wie soll es sein? Und selbst?" And then she said, "This is how we greet each other in Essen."
Nice. Essen.
How is it supposed to be? And what about you? Well, how's it supposed to be?
That's very
How
Essen.
how is it? Oh, well, how is it supposed to be? And yourself?
There's this great video online. I sent to my dad. I sent to my friend Tyler, who's really into German stuff right now. It's made by the New York Board of Education. The video's from like 1951 or something. And it's a film strip of life in Germany. And they go to Essen and they follow the family of a guy who works in the Essen steel mill. And then it's this little one-bedroom apartment. And when Opa comes by, it's like 5 kids running around the street. Essentially, it's exactly how my dad grew up. Probably how your dad grew up too. And the American announcer, it's old 50s, Mid-Atlantic almost, or it's just an answer. It's like, this German family, they don't eat meat like us. They tend to eat pork. And so-and-so's boiling potatoes. It's any, one of the lines is like, it's any German housewife's pride and how she cooks or something like that. And then there's footage of them going to Albrecht Brothers, the corner store, which later became Aldi's. It's a fun little sort of fact. But the fun line is they have a shot of the streets just covered in ash and coal everywhere. He's like, that healthy coal means vibrancy and prosperity for all. So, something like that about how like the coal, the ash in the sky means things are going A-okay.
Well, I went actually, since I was just in Germany, I went to the Gasometer in Oberhausen, which is like a basically an industrial monument almost. It's this giant thing that was used for cooling, I guess, or to store like leftover. I don't actually fully understand it. And now it's like this sort of cultural center. They had an exhibition about planet Earth. They had a giant Earth ball that was lit up, and it was and anyway, this is in that area, and there was a picture of how it used to look like around there, and it was pretty it was very industrial, and the area now has changed a lot. There's a lot of these factories have closed, and it's a lot greener than it used to be, and But
so you went to the old country, yeah. This is something I want
did.
to talk about. Was everybody over there talking about Leo Messi and the Messi effect?
There's
How big is the Messi
definitely
effect?
it's people talk about it. My little brother wants to go. He's coming to the US supposedly in October, and he wants to go to Miami and see Messi. I'm like, good luck getting tickets. But it's definitely like when we were in Spain. There's Messi. The Messi kits are everywhere. People are wearing them. People are selling them.
Damn, so it's a global effect. That's
The
crazy.
the pink Miami Messi shirt is a global thing now. You can see it.
So you saw
can
them
see
in
the
Mallorca.
difference. Yeah.
The pink
I
shirt. That's crazy.
I almost bought one for my son because he was like, I kind of want one. I'm like, what? Okay.
I mean, I
Weird.
kind of want one too, not because just because it's like a thing. It's like the Beckham Galaxy jersey. It's like a thing to have, and then as 10 to 15 years go
Yeah, but
by,
it's
it's
like
like
you're gonna
it's
wear
part
it.
of
When are you
history.
gonna wear it? You just want to
That's
own
part of
it.
history.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll wear it when I go to the beach. I don't know. I don't know. It's just something to have. like I would love to own a Pele Cosmos jersey. That would. Be
I think
cool.
it's cool. I love the. I
Gold.
mean, I enjoy the pink, and it's a good look. And I like Messi, but I'm like, I don't know. I'm never gonna wear it.
Well, that's so. You were mainly in Spain, right? But
I
you
was
were Germany
mainly in
for a couple
Spain.
days?
I was
Yeah.
in Germany visiting my family for a couple days.
What's
And
the
then
energy? Did you look at the kicker on the
what's the
newsstands?
energy?
Were
I
people
did
not
look.
talking about the
I
German
did
national
look
team? What's
a
going
little
on?
bit. I don't know. I'm not. My family's not a soccer family.
Right.
My parents don't really care. So I did not. I can't say that I got an insight. I also wasn't able to this time. Uh, I didn't get to watch a game. There was not a lot of soccer. It seems like Germany in general is not.
Yeah, they're not into it, right? They're not
Well,
really
also,
following it.
I'm not soccer specifically, but in general, I think the country's not in a great mood. It seems like
Right.
people are a little, but I mean, I think that's also par
Well,
for the
hold on. Let's
course.
talk about this. Is it what I experienced? Because like Germans, there's a thing when you go there. I call it the German freak out. They freak out on you, and I remember it from my past. But last time I went, I was only there for like a week, and it happened to me like 4 times, and it really stuck out to me. And I'm
Wait,
just like,
what's
is that a
the
unique thing,
what's
or
the
is that
freak out? You
a
gotta
German
you gotta
freak
tell me.
out? Is Germans will gladly go to you in public and was it castrate? Not they'll
Berate?
gladly berate you because to their eyes you're not following a certain rule or something like that. I took a picture of a guy. He ran up to me and says, "I'm calling the police. Never do that again." Like right at me, some stranger. I was at a train station and I was looking at the board while moving. But in my defense, I was moving on the right side of the lane, and she was coming from the opposite. She said, "Hello," just like, "Hi, I'm moving here, moron." In a way where like Americans don't do that. Americans don't really. You sort of stay in your own lane here. And
Right.
then 2 trips ago, I was on the bus. And in New York, when you're on a bus, or in LA when you're on a bus, you can stay. In America, when you're on a bus, you can stand. It's full. You stand wherever you want. I was standing, and I guess I was too close to the exit door. A guy didn't say anything. He just grabbed me physically, held me, and pulled me away from the door. In New York, if a guy pulled me away from the door, I'm allowed to punch him in the face, and the fight's allowed to start. But in Germany, so that's called the German.
The German freak out.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always. Yeah, I had a
Is
couple
that what
of
you're
those, I
talking
guess.
about, or is it just
No,
in general?
I'm talking just about a general sort of malaise. Like people are
Well, 'cause the energy
unhappy
crisis.
unhappy with the way things are going, I guess, is the sense that I got.
Hmm.
But what you're describing also is a thing for sure. Like there's these like
My sister was riding her bike on the street one day, and an old man ran in front of her, blocked her, and told her that she's supposed to ride on the sidewalk or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Americans don't do that.
People
That's
will
not an
definitely,
American
well,
thing.
especially in New York, you have a lot
Yeah.
more. Yeah. No, that's definitely, people will tell you how you're supposed to do things. Like, yeah, you're on the train and I put my suitcase somewhere
Right.
and then somebody's like, no, you shouldn't put it there. It's stuff. Yeah, stuff like that happens all the time. Or there was one.
But Germans
Yeah,
are
that's-
nice about it. A regular person would be like, "Hey, just to let you know, there's a
No, they're not.
the actual
No, there's
suitcase
no-
thing.
There's
It's
no
Don't put your
decorum, no.
suitcase there, moron. What the hell is wrong with you?" It's always right away. My dad went to a sauna once, and I think he put his foot up, and right away, "Dein Fuß muss da weg! Dein Fuß muss da weg!" Some stranger. The strangers just come at you and treat you like an item. That's German. I know. Maybe you're from Germany.
I mean, when
so
I
it's
was a
part of
kid,
it,
when I was a kid, like older people would hit
right,
kids.
yeah.
That are not their kids.
Totally.
So yeah, that vibe still. I mean, it has softened up a lot, and
Not enough for me.
people are. Yeah, people are not. I mean, we had an experience where we had to leave our luggage at the train station because we were meeting up with my parents. We were just in Düsseldorf for a couple hours, and so we tried to lock up all of our suitcases in this, and it was like,
Right.
it's just complete chaos. Like,
Right.
and very, yeah, it's very hard then to find anyone to help you, or yeah, it's not a service oriented country. It's improved, but it's still
When
not
I
like
was
that.
at-
And there's definitely, and people will yell at you, and yeah.
So last time I went to Germany, I went to a Mainz home game, which will lead us right into what Seb wants to talk about. Let's talk Mainz. So I go to the Mainz stadium. Never been to a Bundesliga game. First time at the stadium. It's lovely. I take the train out. It's like right outside the city, like in a giant cow field. It's a cool little stadium. But I go in, and the way it works here in the United States is you can go into the stadium wherever you want, just walk around the concourse, and then go find your seat. That's usually how I operate, right? Or am I wrong? You just go in, go walk around your seat. They have recommended entrances sometime. But anyway, so I have this ticket. I didn't read it closely enough.
In
I guess
Germany,
there was a very
yeah.
specific there was a very specific part entryway I was supposed to go into. I didn't. I just went into the front entryway everyone went into. I'm like, good, I thought. But it turns out the Mainz Stadium is cut into 4 pieces. There's no walking through the concourse. There's no concourse. The concourses are segmented. So I was in the wrong part of the stadium, which means I had to leave and then walk around outside the stadium into the other area, which I think is bonkers, but so what? So I'm trying to exit, and then there's the steward there. His back is to me, and a bunch of people are waiting to come in. He's holding them. And literally I just tap on him because I'm right behind him. I'm surprised he hasn't turned around and like said, oh yeah, walk by me. He's ignoring me. So I'm like, Entschuldigung, ich muss beigehen. Like, sorry, I have to go by. I said twice. He ignored me. Then I tapped him on the shoulder, and without looking at me, looking off, he just went, "Nicht mich anfassen!" Gah! And then the fans looking were laughing. It was like, I know, right? Why are strangers, they're just like reminiscing with him. Like I'm in the wrong. I am technically in the wrong. I entered the wrong concourse or whatever. But again, in America, there's margin for error. You're allowed to be, oh yeah, you're in the wrong concourse.
Yeah,
So here,
you're allowed
this
to
way.
be. You're allowed to
Walk
be
around,
stupid. The customer's always
Yeah.
customer's always right in America.
Right.
If
And
you're taking the wrong entry, it's the fault of the.
According
place,
to
but
him,
not
I
yours.
was supposed to stand there while hundreds of fans were going to curb stop me on the way in. That's what he thought was supposed to happen. So I like had to sneak in and like bend, like I had to do what a human's not supposed to do. I had to like get on my knees and go under like the fence and shit. Didn't affect them, and I went off and had to course correct myself. But that's bonkers to me. That's just like he's a steward.
That's a thing.
Sure, step right by me. Go outside.
That's the thing in these stadiums where they often, they try to separate the visiting fans from the. Like I remember I once went to an away. This is a long time ago. I went to an away game, a Bochum away game in Düsseldorf, trying to meet up with my friend who lived there, and it was not possible because basically, coming from the exit from the Bochum direction, you could only go on one parking lot, go in one entrance, and yeah, you were not allowed.
To me, that's typical German, though.
Yeah,
systematisch, like it's built for robots, not built for human beings. So that was my experience of Mainz. Now let's talk Mainz. Mainz and Frankfurt had their big game, 1-1. 1-1. No, let me close it here. It was a last-minute goal. The game I went to last year was a Mainz-Frankfurt game. So essentially, I went to the last iteration of this game. It is the Rhine Derby, right? They're only about an hour away from each other.
Yeah.
This was in Mainz, right? Let me pull up the things. And Mainz, great season last season. And I would say, wait a minute, their last game they lost to Werder Bremen 4-0.
He's talking about Köln, isn't he?
Wait a minute, who am I?
Was that the first? Mainz had a Frankfurt got the late equalizer against Köln.
Oh yeah, you're thinking Köln. I was going to say Mainz lost terribly to.
Oh, that was on match day 2. What he's talking about?
Oh, was it last? Yeah. Oh, I guess for last week. Well, overall, I'd say Mainz is not having the season they had last year. a pusher. Mainz is also the team that missed those 2 penalties 2 weeks ago with that cool
Right.
big ball dude. I always forget his name.
And and Frankfurt has now gotten 2 late equalizers to tie, and Colomwani is off to Paris, so
to Paris
they're
Saint-Germain.
they're probably gonna struggle.
But the big talk is Bayer Leverkusen and their new Nigerian superstar Boniface. How do you say it? Boniface?
Boniface, yeah.
Boniface, if he's Italian, but
They
Boniface.
keep saying Boniface on ESPN. I don't know. I
He's
guess-
Nigerian. I think it is Boniface. I think they lean into the English. I think it's English.
Okay.
So, but typical of German scouting, they're second to none. That's why I love the German sport directors. They put forth to find exactly the correct scouting. And all of a sudden, this dude hopped out of a hole. They signed him from Scandinavia, I think, or something. I have to look exactly where they got the scout. But he's been scoring every goal. He's the song of the early part of the summer, I think, or early part of the season, because with him, Bayer Leverkusen is right now the only team that is matching Bayern München as we start this brand new season.
Yeah.
And they are everything plus a bag of donuts. They beat Mönchengladbach 3-0 over the weekend with Victor Boniface on scoring 2 of them.
You mean Darmstadt?
No.
Mönchengladbach played Bayern.
Saturday. Oh, yeah. I'm all over the place. What's up with the schedule? Okay. They beat Darmstadt 5-1 with Victor Boniface also scoring 2 goals. He scored 2 goals against Gladbach last weekend. 3-0. 2 goals and a 5-1.
We're going to start calling him Bonabrace.
Heyo, Boniface, Bonabrace, phone a friend, Bonabrace. Victor Boniface is the brace man. But the Leverkusen Bayern München game, which is on Friday, September 15th, is becoming a real juicy one. That could sort of decide the early leader that maybe leads to the Herbstmeister. That's a little bit of an early prediction. But Leverkusen's having a good season. Mainz overall, though, they had such a great season last year, they haven't really picked up where they left off. They're struggling.
1 point.
1 point so far from our friends in Mainz, for our Mainzer friends. But RB Leipzig, despite their opening loss to Leverkusen, they won the DDR derby over the weekend for a comfortable 3-0. So Bayern's in great shape, and thankfully RB Leipzig and Bayer Leverkusen are in great shape. But you know who's not in great shape, Bjorn?
Borussia Dortmund.
Borussia Dortmund. I had last week, I don't know if you heard any of that, I had a Borussia Dortmund friend on.
That was, shout out to Matt Schnitzel. Did a great job.
Matthias Schnitzel came by, talked about Borussia Dortmund. And he's a very positive dude. He still loves Terzic. He's excited about what's going to happen in the season. And so far, we're 3 or 4 weeks in? It was match day 3.
I mean, this could not have left him excited, this game.
No. I mean, Seba asks, you're frustrated because Mainz got a last equalizer against the rivals, which is, it's disappointing. But Frankfurt is a bigger club with a bigger budget, and it's unfortunate. But if you're Dortmund and you're playing Heidenheim, the first time this little club ever was in the Bundesliga, they were in the 10th division like 5 years ago, or more than that. But they were a little club. For you to lose a 2-0 lead, to drop 2 points against Little Heidenheim 2-2. That is just unacceptable. To use the word of a really crappy manager, a crappy store manager, a crappy teacher. That is unacceptable.
That is unacceptable.
Show your work. Unacceptable.
Yeah, that's tough. And they got that penalty. The referee had to go to the monitors repeatedly before making up his mind. And yeah, Dortmund they're struggling. I mean, they signed Füllkrug. I thought that's a coup for them.
That's a big signing.
He came off the bench and do it.
Why would that be a coup? Well, I'm challenging now. Why is it a coup? They're the bigger club. They've got money and they bought a dude.
No, I'm not. I don't mean like they did anything wrong. I just mean like that's a good signing. Yeah.
It sounds a lot like the Anthony Modeste signing from last year.
A little panic. Well,
towards the end of the window, and Füllkrug is a solid player, but I don't know. that's a fun signing. I look forward to seeing how.
Yeah,
Is,
he's
is
got-
Füllkrug that much better than Sebastian Haller? I mean,
we're gonna find out. I think it's worth investigating. I think Haller has been okay, but he hasn't been the knipser that they really needed. Mukoko hasn't been it either. I think it's good. I think he's gonna be good for them. What is our favorite Bundesliga team? Mine is VfL Bochum, of course. And Stefan is Bayern, I guess. He was using the first person plural last week frequently when talking about Bayern. So I thought that was, I don't know.
Matthias put me in that corner though.
Put you in that corner. Yeah.
No, I am a Bayern München fan. And it's beautiful because Bochum and Bayern München have a partnership. So Bjorn and me are a part of the fan partnership groups here.
Yeah. I don't subscribe to that idea. I don't like Bayern. But Tom is back. Malen scores more than Haller. Yeah, Haller, he was a feel-good story coming back from cancer and everybody was rooting for him, but he hasn't been exactly that's super impressive. Hans Wolf is saying that Stefan had a lot of Riz. I learned what Riz is listening to last
Hans Wolf teaching us a new slang word, Riz.
Yeah, the Riz.
And Matthias had positive vibes.
There was a lot of Riz. There was a lot of Riz at the last episode.
But what Matthias did too, it's not his name, but I'm calling him that. What Matt Schnitzel did too is he offered all these young, like Bruno Kittens. I know it's Bino Gittens, but Bruno Kittens, he's been great. He's been getting better and better. But then there's this young, was it a Dutch player? He brought up this guy who I haven't really seen too much about. I remember him talking about it. What was his? It starts with a D. I'm gonna
Dingy. Is that his name? Dingy?
I don't think it was Dingy. Maybe it's Dingy.
Well, I think that is.
His name was Pee Wee Dingy. No, I'm joking. I don't know what his name is. His name is. He's Dutch, right? Is it? Oh, Daniel Malen's been crushing it. That we got.
He's been good.
It. Adeyemi, we need to see from him. He's there this season. That's the big. It's a big signing.
What was the guy's name?
Yeah. Oh, Duranville. Julian Duranville from Belgium, young forward.
Right.
That's the guy he brought. But Belgian Youth International, he's 17. Julian Duranville, he's the guy who's got his eyes on. He could have a coming out party. So there's a lot of youngsters coming out. But my big thing with Dortmund is
they don't defend.
Seba S. Boo, Bayern is boring, always wins for Spines. Yeah, so I guess to touch my Bayern thing. I was a big Bayern München fan back in the 90s. Like my first sort of big heartbreak was Bayern losing Manchester United 2-1 in stoppage time. Like that game lives in my head rent free. And then I was a big Bayern München fan because also if you grew up internationally like me, Bayern München represents all of Germany and like the German club. However, over the last few years, they're a victim of their own success. Like I'm sort of rooting against them these days because it's like I go to these Bayern München fan meetups, but like they demand them the minute they're not winning, the minute they lose a game, all of a sudden it's like off with their head, fire the coach. Yeah, and it's like come on, you guys. I don't know. Anyway,
well, that happens at NYCFC as well, but I think I agree with you. I think they have become complacent because of their success, and I mean, just this last transfer window was a complete disaster for them because they really, they tried to get another center back and couldn't do it. They tried to get like Paqueta from Fulham was already taking pictures and then that fell through. And It was just sort of squad building by committee. And Tuchel was very upset about this. And I mean, things are not well behind the scenes, but they have this financial and talent gap that they probably will get away with it. I mean, until they don't, so we'll see.
They have, but they got their Harry Kane, $110 million. That's going to be exciting. So
Harry Kane is perfect for them. I think. Right. I really believe that he's a perfect fit in every possible way, and I think that's good. But their midfield is still a question. They don't have like Kimmich is not the six that they need, and they're thin at center back, and so. So it's not all well, but it's probably good enough. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
Tom wants to know what TSG stands for. I know the answer. It's a
I know it too. Yeah.
Turn- und Sportgemeinschaft. So it's a, I think, all these a lot of these soccer teams, they started as just general sports clubs. So Turn- und Sportgemeinschaft means gymnastics and sports society, I guess.
I was going to say, how would you translate Gemeinschaft?
I would say, community, I guess, or society, community, something like that.
A lot of sports clubs started as track and field clubs, pretty much, and then soccer
Right.
was added later. And if you look into German soccer history, team sports like Fußball were kind of frowned upon during the early days, like
Right.
because it was very English. And in the late 1800s, early 1900s, English things were it was like hip. It was like underground to do something English. So like it was all about track and field and throwing the discus and all that stuff. But then a bunch of guys got together, wanted to play this team sport. It was like, all right, I guess. I just read the Borussia Dortmund history book, and Borussia Dortmund had to break free from the gymnastics club because the gymnastics club, like the priest, because it was also very religious back then. A lot of clubs had a religious aspect to them. Like the priest almost refused to have them play team sports, like it was sacrilege. And then they had to break away and find their own field and do their own thing, like rebels, to start soccer teams. Anyway, German soccer history is very interesting to me.
Very much. And we should recommend Tor, the book by Uli Hesse, if you want to read about this. It's really a great book.
Great book.
And it describes all this very well. All of these, a lot of these organizations go back to one guy, Turnvater Jan. Do you know who Turnvater Jan is?
No, please enlighten me.
He was like the gymnastics dad of the country. I think this was his nickname. Father Gymnastics, I guess, is what this translates. Father Gymnastics Jan, and this man's name was Friedrich Jan, and he was around in the middle of the 19th century, and he decided that people should improve themselves physically, and he basically started this gymnastics movement that then sort of swept Germany, and he's responsible for a lot of these organizations and kind of forming themselves as kind of gymnastics, people getting together and doing gymnastics.
Well, it's very Spartan, if you want to go back. That's the Spartan behavior, the old Greek Spartan. Because here I'm like, German gymnastics educator and nationalist, whose writing has credited the founding of German gymnastics, but he was also a key figure of the German campaign of 1813, where a coalition of German states ended the occupation of Napoleon's French Empire. So that right there has strong roots in being important. Like if his philosophy ended the French occupation, then obviously his teachings would become important over time.
So anyway,
that's a great insight into the mentality of that.
Turn- und Sportgemeinschaft. Well, a lot of the, and this is where, might as well talk about it now since it's apropos. This is also where a lot of the resentment comes from for the so-called, well, I have a word for you. And this ties into what you were talking about 2 weeks ago. Here we go with the
Sprachgefühl.
Sprachgefühl is the section of the show where we explain German soccer terms for you. And the word I was thinking of is Retortenclub. Retortenclub. Do you know what a Retortenclub is?
I do not know what a Retortenclub is. Enlighten me.
Well, a retorte is a...
Can I guess?
No, please go for it.
Is it having a cake again?
No.
Like, eine Torte bitte. Oh, that was so good. Retorte me, please. Does that mean like having another cake?
No, that's a great guess, but that is not what it is.
Retort me.
I couldn't even find a word for this. A retorte is basically a certain specifically shaped glass that's used in chemical labs to create certain
flask.
substances. It's like a flask, but a special kind of flask.
Got it.
So a Retortenclub is basically a chemical, like a Retorte. When something in Germany is aus der Retorte, it means it's like artificially created. It's not something in nature. It's not something that you find organically. It's like, clones are called Retorten babies.
It's test tube babies, right?
Test tube babies. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So these are like tubular clubs.
Got it.
And the clubs we're talking about are RB Leipzig, Hoffenheim, Wolfsburg, perhaps Bayer Leverkusen, depending on your point of view. Yeah. And those are the Retorten clubs. And since we're talking about that prior, a part of the resentment against them is that because the cultural idea is that these clubs and these organizations are not just they're not just franchises competing in the Bundesliga. They're supposed to be part of the community, and they're not just supposed to have a pro team. They're also supposed to have youth teams and senior teams and women's teams, and they probably have a basketball team and perhaps a
rowing team
or a rowing team and a gymnastics. And so they're like, these sort of organic grown out of this community kind of thing. And the pro team is just kind of, an outgrowth of that, versus these teams that are specifically just created or beneficiaries of massive financial influxes. And that's where their success comes from. And so I actually looked this up because we were talking about this 2 weeks ago, and I erroneously said that Bayer Leverkusen was not owned by Bayer, but it is in fact. Bayer do own the team, even though initially the initial creation wasn't like Bayer going like, oh, we're gonna start a pro soccer team to promote the brand. It was more like the workers like, oh, we want to have this kind of community kind of team, and can you help us do that? And so it's a little bit of a gray area in the sense that it is kind of a community. And plus this was like 100 years ago, so it's not like it's not like but I did sort of look into it, because you were making the point that these teams, the Wolfsburgs and the Leipzigs and the Bayer Leverkusen, have this corporate support. They are subsidized by these corporate
giants,
and so they would be able to kind of spend unlimited money. And aside from, I'm always a little dubious about like just saying, oh, these companies have unlimited resources and they should just sink them all into the. But aside from that, I kind of did a little bit of a deep dive into it, and the reality is that those teams are exempt. It's actually Hoffenheim, Leverkusen, and Wolfsburg are exempt from the 50+1 rule, because of this grandfather clause. Basically, there is sort of an exception can be made to that rule if somebody has a 20+ year commitment to the team and has supported the organization for a long time, which is the case for Bayer, obviously for a long time, for Volkswagen in the case of Wolfsburg, and this billionaire Dietmar Hopp, I think is his name, Hopp, who's like a software.
That was very recent. I think
that was more recent. But he basically snuck in, and RB Leipzig technically does comply with the 50+1 rule. They're not exempt, but they have found a way to work around it. But the thing that speaks against your theory that I found is that this is a point of contention, the fact that there are these exceptions. And the German, das Deutsche Kartellamt, they're basically the organization that cracks down on monopolies and ensures, is supposed to ensure fair competition.
Antitrust,
right? Exactly. The German version of an antitrust organization. They don't like that there are these exemptions, and the argument that these should continue to exist by the Bundesliga, the DFL, the Deutsche Football Liga. They're like, well, they don't really have an advantage because they don't really spend any more money than anybody else, and so it's okay. So if these teams were to all of a sudden pour billions of dollars,
they would cancel it.
They would lose their licenses. So yeah.
There's got to be more regulation to it. I was listening to a different podcast. They're actually talking about this, where they were saying that, like, club, it's like PSG 101. Like, clubs shouldn't be allowed to be sponsored by their owners. That's what they were saying. So in the case of Bayer Leverkusen, they've got Bayer as a shirt sponsor, right? Mm-hmm. And they get paid. I'm pulling a number out of my butt here, but I think they could get paid. They could pay whatever they want for that sponsorship. And that's a way to backdoor some money, because I think there are limits. Like, Bayer Leverkusen can't just flush them with cash. I think there are regulations against that somehow. So they have to find a backdoor. For instance, like Bochum sponsor, let's say it's Faber-Castell or whatever, right? Say it's that Prince
it used
company.
to be, not anymore, but
it used to be. Whoever it is now,
like Lotto system company, yeah.
Now it's Vonovia, right?
Vonovia, yeah.
Is that the Lotto system company, or what is that?
I don't know. No, Vonovia is the stadium sponsor. They have what is on the anyway.
What I'm saying is they're independent companies. They have an agreement. Let's say Vonovia gives them 3 million euros for the year or something, right? And that's their agreement. Bayer will buy a shirt sponsor, quote unquote, or Red Bull, right? It's Red Bull on the thing. They'll buy the shirt sponsor, and they'll give them $50 million for the year, right? That's not really what that costs, right? A shirt sponsor usually pays a lot less than that. But that's sort of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge of being like, this is how we're giving you money. We're using that that's how they give you money. Because, I think PSG got in trouble because Qatar Airways gave them when there's $100 million.
Well, that's always, Manchester City is the same kind of thing. They
Right.
have Etihad on their shirts, and yeah.
Wolfsburg, same thing with the VW. Like, that's sort of a backdoor sneak into how they can fund their clubs a little bit.
It is Vonovia is now the shirt sponsor,
right?
But I don't know what they are.
If I had to guess, I'd say
by the way, VfL VfL Bochum stands for Verein für Leibesübungen. So that's, again, another, like, Leibesübungen are corporal exercise. So it's a club for corporal exercise.
Well, my great-grandfather...
that's some gymnastics shit right there.
My great-grandfather was a coach at VfL Bochum once upon a time.
I don't think I knew this fully.
I thought you knew this. Didn't I tell you all?
I think you did. Maybe you mentioned it, but when I heard it on the podcast last week, it fully sunk in.
Well, but he was a track and field coach. He was not I think because
he was a disciple of Turnvater Jan.
Turnvater Jan, which I learned, which is so interesting. And my great grandfather, that same man, was a referee at the 1936 Berlin Olympics. He was a Schiedsrichter. He was a timekeeper. He kept time. But again, I'm pretty certain. I'm a little unclear, and I think that my dad is too. He wasn't. This was before his time. I'm unclear if he ever got involved with the soccer side of things. I think he was just a track and field guy. But that would have been part of the same club because it was like a big sports club, and everyone was a member of that sports club in that area. Yeah, but anyway, and that same man was also I was about to say something out of my butt. Someone else in my family was like the mayor of Essen as well. But that's a different person. Those are two different people. Here we go. Seba S.
Vonovia
that's very, very interesting.
Vonovia is a real estate. Vonovia is a real estate company, by the way.
But that's something we need to do another deep dive in, because that's just something I'm so interested in. Because also with the fact that they're looking at foreign investing, and like Hertha Berlin was just bought up by an American private equity firm. There's
the
David
flip
Tepper
side,
and Ausboy. I'm curious about all that.
I mean, the flip side of all of this is also that, like, people get upset about the Retorten clubs.
Right.
But I mean, the reality is none of these teams, the local kids no longer play on any of these teams. And also they all are separate legal entities, most likely. There's different, I read about this as well. There's different legal constructs. Different teams have different, some of them are actually publicly traded. They have, others are just, the LLC, the German LLC equivalent, but it's not like, this like, oh, we're all, it's just the community organization. And I mean, that doesn't exist really anymore anywhere.
That's my argument. Like the fans will love to be like, oh, it's like you said, but it's like, no, these are multi-million dollar,
it's
billion
not
dollar
really the
enterprises.
case.
These are businesses. Yeah. You don't kid yourself. So that's been my argument when like someone from Freiburg who'd be like, screw you, Leipzig fans, you're so plastic. We're a community club. It's like, no, these are two high million-dollar private soccer enterprises. Don't kid yourself. Which goes back to MLS, the whole like New York Red Bulls, you sold out, not the Seattle Sounders. We're owned by Microsoft, which makes us more of a community club.
Somehow
it's like, what
better,
are you, Microsoft, Red Bull, whatever, big billionaires own things. But what you brought up is so interesting because I did remember reading about that Hoffenheim. There's a 20-year thing. That means in a few years that RB Leipzig would then officially be owned by Red Bull, right? If those rules.
Well, I think,
still,
but I think
applicable?
they're still. I think the Kartellamt is still looking for a solution. I think that they want to find a way to make these teams be compliant with the 50+1 rule, even if they have previously had exceptions. So I don't think they're looking. I don't think people are looking to add more of those kinds of exceptions to the. I think Hannover 96 a few years ago tried to get an exception or try to change and it was really voted down. There was no support for that. So I don't know what the future holds, but I don't think they're going to keep handing out like sort of blank tickets for people.
Yeah, it's just funny because like Bayer Leverkusen, right? It's like, oh, they're grandfathered in. But Red Bull Leipzig, no, you got to change to Rasenballsport, which we know that story. Grassball sport, it's just baby talk. And it's just like a way to. But it's like between it's like, what's the difference, right? Between Red Bull and Bayer, which is the bigger, worster company? It's Bayer by a landslide. I would know. My dad worked for Bayer. Bayer did terrible things. Bayer invented heroin. Bayer developed Cyclone B. Bayer is a terrible old German chemical plant. The fact that it's grandfathered in for the community versus Red Bull, which is a terrible soda. I'm not saying it isn't, but it's just some soda. Like,
but
I look at it and be like, what is the difference? Like, I don't see the difference there.
Well, the difference is they've been around for a long time.
Yeah, but what does that? Why is that a thing? Bayer Leverkusen are old enough to be. Bayer Leverkusen Bayer got in trouble in the 90s because they developed this new drug. I think it was supposed to be a cancer drug or something, and it killed so many people. And they had a big lawsuit about it. Like, Bayer is not your friendly neighborhood pharmacy. Bayer is a super mega company. And I'm not blaming them, whatever. They do their thing. But for the Bundesliga to be like, oh, they are grandfathered in because they're older versus this new company that wants to do the same thing, to me, that is so, I don't know. That's maybe a German versus American mentality thing where it's like, come on, look at yourself. What's the difference? Anyway, that's just my spiel. But this is the first part of a financial deep dive. We're going to explore a little more of this. And there's definitely some decisions need to be made in Germany. It's big talk. The new TV contract's coming up at the end of the year. They got to figure that out.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, they had that big vote where they said no to a bunch of private equity firms to invest in their marketing arm. And that was a whole rigmarole, and they decided to say no against that. But maybe 12 months' time, it'll come up again. Something's got to give over.
Well, it's also, it was not a majority of teams were for this happening. Right. It's just they needed 2/3 and they didn't quite get there. So, yeah, these things are all going to keep, because that's people pride themselves into the community aspect and, not just being about money, etc. But at the same time, there are also other countries have more, England specifically, they have more money. And so they get the better players. Sebas S is asking, are people from Germany starting to not like football as much as they used to? I think it's still pretty big. My impression is still people are still into it. I don't know. I mean, would have to check numbers in terms of attendance and but I think it's still strong. Interest is still strong.
Yeah, but I know the German men's national team popularity is an all-time low because they're very poor right now. Yeah. And there's really no end in sight, but we got the Euros coming up. That'll give them a nice shot in the arm. Seba S, I'm trying to find the Seeing Red podcast where I can see their face and ask them questions. That does not exist. You can only find
They
that
edit because they edit. They record and edit.
They edit, they record, and Mark Fishkin's alone. His co-host is I think taking a little bit of leave of absence. Random thought, but have you read Animal Farm by George Orwell? You know what? I actually have not read Animal Farm. I've read 1984.
I have.
Is that related? How does Animal Farm relate to?
It's unrelated.
It's
not a sequel.
You did say it was a random thought. No, not 1984, but to what our discussion, Animal Farm.
Oh no, it's a random thought. It does not relate.
I
think that's the definition of a random thought. What?
Chris Richards. Bayern should have kept Chris Richards. Chris Richards should have stayed at Hoffenheim. That's where he should have stayed.
Yeah.
I think he was back on the center back talk. Yeah, Chris Richards would have lit it up. No, he's a solid dude. I'd love to see him as center back. But yeah, anyway, Paxton Aronson
They were trying to get Amel Bella-Kotchap, Bochum legend.
Yeah, that would have been a great signing.
Yeah.
Dortmund was trying to get him, right? That would have been a great signing, I thought.
I think they're
because they're still leaning on Schlotterbeck, and I'm unconvinced that he's of the right quality.
Yeah.
Okay, Marek Jägerbrod.
And Mats Hummels' race is run, I think.
Oh, beyond run. John Brooks scored a goal. That continues. He's
wild. What was he doing up there?
Oh, being John Brooks. John Brooks is back. I mean, his form is pretty tight. Maybe not as great as he was during his Wolfsburg season 2 or 3 seasons ago, where he was amazing. But he's getting back to his old form. It's nice to see. Paxton Aronson came off the bench and assisted in Eintracht Frankfurt's second goal in a 2-0 win for them, right? Was it against Cologne? No. Oh, the equalizer. We talked earlier about the Frankfurt Cologne equalizer. Young Paxton Aronson came off the bench and made that happen. Good for him, young Paxton Aronson. Kevin Paredes getting some minutes of Wolfsburg. Joe Scally going from strength to strength, proving that he could be. He's going to win the Steve Trundle Award for me this year because he's like a key figure over Gladbach. Granted, Gladbach are in rough shape at the moment, but not because of Scally. They had a solid game against Bayern München, but Bayern München are hard to stop. And I'm loving to see Joe Scally getting some good minutes over there.
Yeah, he's one of the few.
One of the few. One of the
Brendan
brave.
Aronson got a red card, but he'll be back next week, I guess. Paxton, Gio Reyna can't get on the field. He's
injured.
Still hurt. Yeah. Huh. Well, I mean, being not injured is a skill too, in a way.
Yeah, Americans aren't good at that. Christian Pulisic is healthy and crushing it. I'm loving what's going down in Italy. I'm loving what's going on down there. Sebes, Union Berlin is so good at making good teams, and they absolutely.
Bonucci showed up right before the deadline. Where are they finding? I mean, it's wild.
They also almost got Isco last year. Remember the Isco?
Oh, yeah.
They're just so creative with signing their players, but they have a big team. Again, they've got like 31 first-team players. They got a big team. But Brendan Aronson, hopefully, he keeps getting on the field, getting there with Bonucci and doing his thing. No, so I'm going to be in Germany next month, and I could reroute myself and go watch Union Berlin versus Napoli at the Olympiastadion Champions League game. Do you know who else is playing in the Champions League? Germany has a secret Champions League club. I learned this on a podcast. Shakhtar Donetsk is based out of Hamburg.
They're playing in Hamburg. That's true. Yeah.
I'm going to be in that neck of the woods at that time, but unfortunately, they're on the road. God, would I've loved to have gone to a Shakhtar Donetsk Champions League game
that'd be
in Hamburg. That would have been so weird and fun. Barcelona's coming to town. Barcelona's playing Shakhtar Donetsk in Hamburg. That would be so much fun. But alas, the schedules came out. I wanted to go to a Dortmund Champions League game, but I'm just so unlucky. I'm going to Germany when the international break starts. The German national team will be with you guys.
We'll be in Connecticut.
And then Champions League starts up, but all of the teams are on the road the week I'm there. They're all on the road. Everyone's on the road except for Union Berlin. But Berlin is
Europe's small, though. You can.
I know.
I'm sure you could find something.
I could go to the Berlin game. That's the only one in town my week, but it's like a 3-hour train ride. We'll see. Maybe I'll go. Maybe I'll go to the Union Berlin Napoli game.
Train ride, or it's like a $39 flight.
True. I could do that. I'll look at it. I'll keep you all posted. But I am going to Dortmund, and I'm going to visit the German Soccer Museum. I'm going to take a tour of the Westfalenstadion, considered the best stadium in Germany.
Go to Bochum, see the stadium, and watch Starlight Express. It's a classic.
What's Starlight Express?
Starlight Express is an Andrew Lloyd Webber musical.
Yeah. What do you mean?
that's
What does
been
that have to
playing-
do with Bochum?
It's been playing in Bochum for the last 40 years.
Really?
I think it's
Really?
the only
It's
place
the
in
only
the world.
place.
I was when this, I think it was 1989, 1990 that this started. And they gave the government kicked in. They built this theater. Starlight Express is a musical that involves people on roller skates.
Roller skates. It's Andrew Lloyd Webber's worst
being
musical by far.
trained. No, it's not. It's not that bad. It's a good time.
All right.
This
This is coming from the man who didn't like Les Mis. Just want to make sure everyone. He wasn't a big Les Mis fan. He was
That's
about
true.
to
Yeah.
offer Starlight Express.
I would say that Starlight Express is more fun than Les Mis for sure. So anyway, so it's people on roller skates portraying trains. So they built this whole theater that has ramps everywhere, so these people can zip past you at high speeds. And the government kicked in some money for this. And I was a theater person then. I was like, this is just an outrage. Like, this should not be subsidized. This is gonna be a complete flop. And I couldn't have been more wrong. It's been going for 40 years. It's a huge success. People come from all over the country to visit, and it's right next to the stadium.
Dude,
The theater is right next to the stadium.
I'm going. I'm going. I think this is you sold. I definitely want to go to the show.
It's worth it. I think you're not going to regret it.
Seb asked if I'm landing in Frankfurt. I'm actually landing in Amsterdam. I'm going to go to Amsterdam. And again, I wanted to go to some games in Holland, but it's break. I would love to have gone to an AZ game, or I would love to have seen our boys at PSV. But no, they're break. And it's also hard to get tickets. Even though I thought it was early enough, it's not. Anyway, I'm landing in Amsterdam, and then I'm taking the train into Germany. I'm going into Dortmund. And that night, I'm going in on a Friday night. I'll go to Starlight Express. That's where I'll do that. I think that's the plan.
It's going to be great.
Yeah. I'll go to Bochum shop, maybe buy a jersey, huh? My little Ruhr.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Little Ruhr, football, my little Ruhr football nerd experience.
It's close to Dortmund. It's like 15 miles. I mean, you can do both. You can do both in a day.
Yeah, I'm going to walk into the stadium, be like, my great-grandfather used to coach this club, so I get free tickets or whatever. And like, do you have any proof? I'm like, no.
That's always how it works. That's always how it works in Germany. They just hand you stuff. They get excited.
No. Opinion on the city of Frankfurt, in your opinion, Stefan?
I was just there. Well, he's asking you, so.
I don't. My parents met there. They fell in love there, and my sisters were both born there. So Frankfurt's a big part of our family. But as far as the city, I don't. I remember visiting family friends. From what I understand, Frankfurt is like the only city that when they rebuilt the country after the war, they're like, screw it, throw out the plan, start from scratch. So Frankfurt's a much more modern city compared to all the old German historical.
Yeah, they call it. I mean, it's the financial capital, so they call it. Right. They call it Manhattan.
Because it has all on the Main.
Yeah, Main is the name of the name of the river. And it has a bunch of. I mean, it's not like Manhattan actually, but it is. They do have a fair amount of skyscrapers. They have some of the certainly for German standards. For German standards, they have an impressive skyline. It's a cool town. It's not super pretty, but there is some life to it. It's a big college town. There's an annual book fair every year, and so there's good music. There's wine, there's food. There's that whole sort of area by the river where there's museums and people hang out. It's cool.
Yeah. So, my parents loved Frankfurt. They lived there for years. They loved it. Anyway, yeah. Seb S wants your opinion as well. I am not going to spend much time in Frankfurt. I'm probably going to go through it in the train or something. No, I haven't done I don't know. But we used to fly into Frankfurt all the time because that's the major airport as well.
Yeah.
And since Brexit, the theory was Frankfurt was going to start booming because the financial capital of Europe is London. Right. But the financial capital of continental Europe is Frankfurt. So if Brexit was going to have this effect on companies, there was a theory that a lot of companies were going to relocate from London to Frankfurt. Not sure exactly how that played out or what happened, but anyway, Brexit, oddly enough, seemed to be good for Frankfurt. So, All right.
All right.
How are you feeling about? We have the German roster. Last thoughts. Leon Goretzka has not been selected.
Yeah, Thomas Müller is the answer, especially according to Hansi Flick.
Thomas
I don't
Müller
know.
is inevitable. It's inevitable.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, Hansi Flick's another one of like, I'm not like, I said this in the previous hour. I'm not one to call for the coach's head, but it's like, Hansi Flick has not done well.
Well,
And,
Schlotterbeck was called in, right? But Leon Goretzka was not. I don't know. Am I being harsh on Schlotterbeck? I'm like, I think dude needs to take a break.
He's a mystery. Like it's
Right.
it's not clear what he's good at.
I'd rather see Malek Chia on the field. He's going from strength to strength. Another one of Milano brothers playing with Pulisic and Yunus Musa. He is, I believe, he's still at Milan, right? I'm liking what I'm seeing from someone like him. I hope Robin Gosens gets back into form. But the answer to the German defense does not lie in the Bundesliga. It's just a sad reality. Like Niklas Zula is our great hope as far as German Bundesliga defenders. Bella Kotschap out of Southampton. We got some good young guys coming up, but I don't know. It's weird. We're looking at the German national team is slim pickings, right? He's just trying to call out who hasn't been absolute trash, is like what he's trying to call out. Right? Or am I wrong?
Well, I mean, he seems to be, I don't know. We were supposed to get this whole makeover, and Thomas Müller, like Rudi Völler.
I know.
They were both like, oh, yeah, you're going to see a whole other, we're not going to make any rash decisions, but you're going to see a whole other thing next time around. And so it's like, Thomas Müller is the new wave. I don't know. Like
it's not, but he's like the German. It's not the same. But remember your old opinion of Gyasi Zardes? What was your old opinion of Gyasi Zardes?
That it's not his fault. There's nobody better. Yeah, it's true.
It's not his fault. He's the best.
But I mean, I'm not saying Thomas Müller's like Gyasi Zardes. Like he's definitely he's one of the all-time greats.
Right.
But
Yeah,
at this point,
right.
and it's like he's not the future.
I think for Bayern, he's coming off the bench. Yeah.
What Tom wants to know of you, Julian Nagelsmann as a Hansi Flick replacement.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
All right. This is Seba with the big questions. Favorite city in Germany, favorite city in the USA, and then we'll say goodnight. Right?
Yeah, sounds good.
Good question.
That's hard. Favorite city. Yeah, go ahead.
My favorite city in the United States is New York City. I just love that place. However, if I had to choose a magical city, a magical place that I really, really also loved as well, it would be Charleston, South Carolina.
Oh yeah, I haven't been, but I've heard it's beautiful. I really liked. Yeah, I mean, I too like New York City very much. Is definitely my favorite place in the US. But yeah, there's also a lot of other. I love Savannah, Georgia when I was there.
I was going to say Charleston is part of a string of the southern cities. Charleston,
that's
Savannah,
what I was thinking
West.
of. Okay, yeah, I haven't been there either. I really loved Santa Fe in New Mexico. I like LA too. Every time I've been there, that's I
need to go visit Santa Barbara where Prince Harry lives. Prince Harry was at the LAFC game last night, and him and Meghan Markle have their big estate up at Santa Barbara, and I hear nothing but amazing things. I need to go check out all this Santa Barbara fuzz, about 100 miles.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too. In Germany, it's hard to pick one for me. I like Cologne maybe might be up there. I think Köln is a really cool is a favorite. I like Berlin. It's been a long time since I've been there.
I thought you hated Berlin.
Munich's really no, I don't. I mean, I don't.
Describe it as a heroin paradise.
Well, I think it's cool. It's a great place to visit. I don't recommend living there, but it's a great place for a visit. A smaller somebody was asking me at a party recently where should they go in Germany, and like one place that's not like always. I think Wiesbaden is a really cool.
We used to go to Wiesbaden a lot.
Is a really really nice town that has a that's not huge, but it's beautiful. It has a really good vibe.
Is that the town? Help me. I might be wrong. Is that the town where It's like on the northern coast, right? Something like that,
Northern
or
coast of
what am
what?
I thinking? Of Germany. So on the
No,
Ostsee or the
Wiesbaden
north.
is near
What am I thinking?
is Hessen. It's near Frankfurt.
There's a place where I need to ask my mom this. There's like it's the shores are huge. They're like huge marshy shores, and they have these little like wormy. They have these little like weird worm sand things. But the whole point is you like my grandfather would march through it every day. It's an hour of like marching.
Oh
Where it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
your
yeah.
feet sink into it. It's like a
When
beach,
the
but there's no water. It's just a
because
long ass red
because
coastline.
the tide is so extreme, like it just goes
Exactly.
right. Yeah, that's like a city. No, that's the entire north.
That's a place up on Nordsee, I
Oh,
think.
okay.
I could be, but that's what I was mixing up with. Sorry, but
All
anyway,
right.
so Wiesbaden.
Wiesbaden is very nice.
I would say, if I had to answer for sentimental reasons, there's a little town in North Germany called Bad Oldesloe. It's about an hour north of Hamburg. That's just for sentimental reasons, I like that place. That's also where Borussia Dortmund's bench keeper is from, born and raised.
Oh, interesting.
Stefan Meyer, I think his name is. He's a Boslo. When we were kids, we used to go to Passau a lot, which is a nice town down south. That's right on the border there of like, it's like an Ecke-Stadt where like it's surrounded by 3 countries or something. And you know what really impressed me as a kid that really stuck in my mind was Erfurt. You ever been to Erfurt?
Erfurt in the east.
Yeah, it's like an old eastern city, but it's an old Roman city.
I've
And they
not
didn't
been
touch
there.
much. It's like a beautiful old, it's got that old Roman vibe to it. It's very, very cool.
Tom's saying Dresden. Dresden's also a really cool town. I've only been one time, but I really like that. I'm hoping my niece is actually going to school. Is going to go to school there, and so I'm hoping to go back. But yeah, I remember that town also.
The German Venice
being really, really cool, beautiful, and also having a good vibe.
And Dynamo Dresden. I think Dynamo is the club there. And Dynamo is, I guess, a wink, wink, nudge, nudge to the fact the club is connected to the secret state police, right? Isn't it something like that? Like Dynamo Moscow is a KGB club, and Dynamo Dresden.
I thought this was just like it's a leftover from the communists. Like Dynamo was the name of a factory. I don't know. Yeah, maybe maybe there's more to it than that. I don't know. I'll find out when I go.
Your niece goes. When you go visit
when
your
my niece goes, I'll find out.
I know my dad always loved Dresden. He's just always told me how beautiful Dresden was. Dresden. Cool.
All right.
What are your favorite cities? Leave it in the chat. Bring it to us next week. This has been the Schnitzel Boys.
Yeah. Pleasure. Happy to be back.
We got some national team games coming up. Let's do it. Tell your friends, like and subscribe.
Buy sweaters on Etsy.
Oh, the big Cologne USA meetup is next week, isn't it? And one of our own, David Riccio, bought a sweater, and he's going to rep us at the event, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think, Hans-Wolf, aren't you going there too? Someone else is going there too. Have fun at the Cologne USA meetup in Washington, D.C.
All right.
Tell us what it's like. We'll talk about it on the next podcast. Cool. Tschüss. Bis nächste Woche.